Hello there. You've definitely heard at least once a quote about the importance of reading books. This one belongs to Abraham Lincoln. A capacity and taste for reading gives access to whatever has already been discovered by others. And this one to Napoleon Bonaparte. Show me a family of readers, and I will show you the people who move the world. Why were they so hyped about books? Does reading still matter? And how to read properly? You'll find answers to each of these questions in today's video. So without further ado, let's get into it. There are many benefits of reading books. Reading is first and foremost a great way to learn new things. Some authors spend years or even decades on researching their topics and fit in their books, to say the least, plenty of information they manage to learn over their lifetime. Getting access to this seemingly casual thing, a book, does actually give you a chance to possess valuable knowledge, which it took the author a lot of time and effort to get. There are tons of different writers, and of course, you won't find every single one of them interesting and helpful to read, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't read at all. Beyond that, you can read books for entertainment. I've read many fiction books throughout my childhood and realized that they can easily be as exciting or even more than movies. By the way, I recently came across a list of books Elon Musk thinks everybody should read and found out that he's a fan of Lord of the Rings by Tolkien. When it comes to masterpieces that are quite exciting to read, this one immediately pops into my mind. As you might guess from my accent, I wasn't born in an English-speaking country, and actually, this was one of the first big books I've ever read in English, and it was absolutely worth the time spent on it. In addition, studies show that reading can substantially reduce stress. Participants' systolic and diastolic blood pressure and heart rate decrease during such an activity. Many people find this process relaxing, so do I. But if you want to read before going to bed, remember that reading from an iPad may not be as good in this case as reading from a book. This study shows that it can decrease your subjective sleepiness and delay your deep sleep phase by approximately 30 minutes. So, is reading still important? I believe absolutely yes. John Rowling once said, "If you don't like to read, you haven't found the right book." There are many different genres and authors, and I think you can really find something interesting. When I was studying in school, I had to read novels which I didn't like, and a lot of people stop after that experience and continue to believe that reading is a very boring and useless habit. So, in order to find out if that was true, I searched for different books and decided to try my first self-help book. Even though I heard from some people that self-improvement books was a waste of time. I don't remember exactly, but I think it was How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. After finishing it, I realized that there were so many things I could step up my game at, so I continued reading most classic, if I may say so, self-help books. Not every single one of them was great in my opinion, nonetheless, they really changed me, and I'd even say my whole perspective shifted. I learned many great ideas I've never heard of before. It made me more aware of things around me. I started taking care of myself more. They made me rethink my life goals and productivity. I started reading, studying differently. I also learned new things about cognitive biases and other mistakes that we often make. My attitude towards other people changed. I think I became more mature, so that was quite an accomplishment. Thus, I discovered a whole new way of learning things I use on a daily basis. And last but not least, it actually inspired me to start my own channel, so that's one of the reasons you're seeing me right now. But I think you should focus not only on what you read, but how you read as well. Here are some things that can help you make reading books a habit. Free up some time. Reading might seem like a thing you can deprioritize often, but especially considering benefits of books I listed earlier, you shouldn't overlook it. Maybe you're thinking that you don't have so much time, But Bill Gates, who's a pretty busy person, does find time to sit down and read. And why can't you do it too? If you're truly busy and can't allocate half an hour or even 15 minutes for this habit, perhaps you should replace some other things, like watching TV. Just watch it 30 minutes less every day and your problem may be solved. If you want to learn something more specific about planning, I'll leave a card of my other video for you. And I almost forgot. If you aren't used to reading, don't set the bar too high. Just set a minimum, let's say 10 minutes, and read every day. Besides that, as I previously mentioned, reading can reduce stress, so you can add it to your evening routine. Reading is usually the last thing I do before going to sleep. Our goal is to make it a habit, so you'll do it almost on autopilot. Track your reading. You can keep a reading journal. Lately, I've been using a simple evening routine checklist, which includes reading. So every time I check it before preparing to go to bed, I see that I should read at least a couple of pages. Reading won't be so difficult if you treat it like your other habits, like going to the gym. You know that in order to see great results, you should invest your time and do it regularly. Another crucial thing, take notes. When you've read a lot of books, you know that simply reading is not enough. You should store most important ideas you learn from them somewhere. I've been thinking about it a lot because even when I was writing down book summaries in Evernote, they just stayed there and I rarely got back to them. So I needed a system that will link them together. Luckily at that time, I learned about Zettelkasten. It's a note-taking system. One of the most famous people to use it back in the day was Niklas Luhmann. He was incredibly productive and wrote about 70 books and 400 scholarly articles. I'm still not a Zettelkasten pro, but here is what it is about. This word means sleep box in German. Originally, Zettelkasten was made of short notes on index cards, and it looked quite messy, to be honest. But now there are various applications you can use for this purpose. I personally prefer Obsidian and strongly recommend digital options. The main advantage of this system is that you can link your notes between each other. If you simply highlight some sentences in your book, you won't be able to do it. They might be locked there for good. I use the modified Zettelkasten system. If you want to learn more about that, there are lots of videos and books about it. After some time, I increased the amount of books I read per month and decided to read at least one book a week. It seemed impossible when I started. In the beginning I was like, nah, that's too much. I won't be able to find so much time and push myself to do it and keep up with such a pace. But that wasn't as difficult as I thought, and that feeling is gone. It even feels great. But again, don't do it if you're just starting. There is no rush, just practice basics, including those I've just talked about, and sooner or later, you'll become an absolute beast. Another thing I want to point out is speed reading. I used to think that speed reading was about reading any text you want with the speed of light. I finished reading Peter Kamp's book on speed reading not many months ago and was actually surprised how many mistakes I used to make. I'll say a couple of words about most important ones. Firstly, subvocalization. It's providing sound of the word as it is read. It substantially slows you down. The speed at which you can read exceeds the speed of your speech. Second one, regression. Regression is about reading some parts of your text several times, so you get back and read it again. It may happen subconsciously, and you can use your finger as a pacer, which won't let you get back to what you've already read. Third mistake is reading the whole text at one speed. Some parts aren't worth your close attention, speed up in such cases, or completely skip them if you don't have time for that. And last but not least, reading every type of text at one speed. Different genres have different structure and demand different reading speed. You shouldn't stick to the same speed anytime you read something. Paying attention to these things enabled me to read faster and understand and memorize more. Alright, this is it. Subscribe and watch other videos if you like this one, and have a good day.